Hi, I'm Alan Klatt, and I want to welcome you to Session 3 of this series about Listen, Pray, Care. This is Session 3, Love Listens. This is the third session in the Listen, Pray, Care DVD series, which is all about learning to love one another through a new relational strategy called Listen, Pray, Care. In this video, we will cover 5 main ideas about loving one another through listening. Love listens, Jesus listens, listening to understand, what happens if we don't take time to listen, and how to listen in Listen, Pray, Care groups. In our first 2 sessions, we covered the topic of love matters and love in person. Jesus is God's gift to us, showing us love that is amazingly deep and wide. God's love has been poured into our hearts by the Holy Spirit. Showing love for one another was chosen by Jesus as the identifying mark of his disciples. We are to love like he did. He personally demonstrated that we are to love one another in his foot-washing illustration and his own death on a cross out of love for us. Now in this third session, we will delve further into Listen, Pray, Care and how to practice it. Listen, Pray, Care starts with listen. Love listens. The whole endeavor of effectively loving one another stands or falls on our willingness to listen. Think of it this way. Each person we meet has a message they can share. That message expresses what's on their heart at any given moment in time. They may be happy about something, or concerned about something, or simply content. The loneliest place in the world is the place where nobody cares enough to listen. For example, in my experience in youth ministry, I hear it over and over again when teens feel that their parents don't care about them. Instead of saying that their parents don't love them, they say it is this way: they don't listen to me. Listening is a powerful action, although it seems passive, especially to people who love to talk, but it actually is an active thing to listen. It conveys the message that we love someone who matters to us and matters to God. It describes a good relationship at the root level. He or she really listens to me. As a pastoral counselor, I get the chance to see the power of listening among people seeking help in their relationships. I have learned that one of the central causes of stress in relationships is poor communication. If there are 2 people who say they like each other, but the complaint is that the other person doesn't listen, well, that says a lot. They are probably headed for trouble. Now, guess what is the first and foremost remedy for poor communication? The answer? Get better at listening. So much of counseling, in my experience, is taking time to listen on my part and encouraging people in relationships to listen to each other. Jesus constantly encountered this struggle in human relationships with his disciples who were supposed to be listening. Listening is not easy. Listening goes against pride. Listening is a powerful demonstration of humility. It takes humility to put another person first and take the time to genuinely listen to them. Parents are not always the most patient. People are not always fun to listen to, and listening takes time. Jesus was the Son of God. He could have spent his time proclaiming and commanding the divine narrative. As king, he didn't have to listen to his subjects. He could have just given orders to his subjects day and night. Yet, he listened. Here are a few examples from Scripture that tell of the King of Glory listening to his followers and even strangers. The Bible account of the feeding of the 5,000 is a good one. Jesus and his disciples took a boat to a place far from the populated area in order to get some private space. The crowds, however, decided to run ahead of him along the shore and were waiting when he arrived. Jesus had compassion on them, and he talked with them. And as the day neared its close, Jesus' disciples came to him with a request to send the crowds to the countryside and the villages around there to buy themselves something to eat. Jesus could have created a mountain of bread in an instant, but instead, he first challenged the disciples to feed the crowd. Then he asked the disciples how much food they had. They reported they had 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Here's the point. The Son of God listened to his disciples and then dialogued with them. He asked them questions and heard what they said. Jesus took time to listen. Did Jesus have to deal with ordinary hunger and feed the people who needed some food at the end of the day? Think of all the people Jesus listened to: tax collectors, sinners, disciples, family, teachers of the law, Pilate, King Herod, his Father in heaven, people who were blind, lame, sick, possessed, homeless, priests at the temple, little children. Listening was an integral and important part of his life on earth. Listening was not below Jesus. It was not beneath him to pay attention to what was on people's hearts. He was showing us the heart of his Father. He was showing God's love to all the people around him. This is very different from Jesus impatiently waiting until someone was done talking in order to impose his point of view as Lord of all. Jesus could have done that, but he humbled himself instead. He made it a priority to love people. On another occasion in the Lazarus story in the Gospel of John, Jesus received a message from the sisters of his friend who was very ill. They felt Jesus could do something about it. They told him, "Lord, the one you love is sick." Unfortunately, Lazarus died before Jesus got there, and when he arrived, Martha, one of the sisters, said to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask." Jesus was listening, and he would demonstrate he heard them in a big way in the days to come. Now for a few thoughts on listening to understand, or what is generally called active listening. When we actively listen, we focus on understanding what the person is saying, not teaching them how to fix or change things, or trying to insert our own view or opinion. You know what it's like to talk to a person about something you need? And if they ignore you or push their own agenda, you don't feel like they care. But if you find out they actually listen to what you're saying and then offer to help on top of it, it makes a big difference. When you listen, you're saying that person matters. If we're to love others, ignoring what they say or telling them the right way to think is out of place. Listening is the first step to successfully showing that we love one another. We listen to what's on their heart. I love how little children can get this right. If I say to a young child on the playground, "Look, that little boy just fell. Run over there and ask them what happened," make sure you listen to what he says. That's easily understood by that child. A child can run over there and listen and maybe even help the boy with whatever he needs, or maybe run back to you to tell you that the boy needs to find his mom or something else he may have learned from listening. Without listening to understand, we miss the mark of showing love for others. We listen to what is on their heart. This humble, active listening is an essential first step in healthy relationships with others. As you practice active listening and you gaze through the window of listening, look with anticipation. You will see into the heart of a fellow human being that Jesus calls you to love. Remember, the focus is on listening and understanding, not trying to figure out the perfect fix or change the person that you're listening to. Listening itself can be hard enough with talkative people. Here's a saying I try to remember. It's almost impossible to listen if you're the one doing the talking. Imagine you live near an area where there's been a major disaster from wind, fire, or water, like a forest fire, a tornado, or hurricane. I tell my children those are the big twisty things. As you enter the area, you find a person whose car has been destroyed. You could assume the obvious and decide that the greatest thing on their heart is how bad they feel about losing their car. But you decide to take the time to listen to them. You look for whatever is on their heart, and to your surprise, what concerns them is something completely different. They're worried about their neighbors who lost their homes. They are thankful they only lost their car. They want to thank God that they weren't in the car, and so on. The only way to find out what a person really needs is to find out what's on their heart. And the only way to find that out is to listen to them and to try to understand what they need or are thankful for. Then when you offer help, encouragement, prayer, you have showed love and care for them by listening to understand, rather than giving them the impression that you don't care because you don't listen to them. Here's a key Bible passage from James 1, verse 19b. Be quick to listen and slow to speak. As a side note, can you imagine if our country's leaders would consider those words? Another good verse is from Philippians 2, verses 3b to 4. In humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. Paul had a good grasp of Jesus' teachings about love and care for others above ourselves, especially Jesus' teaching about showing the greatest love when you lay down your life for another. For Paul, Jesus was the supreme example of love because Jesus, out of love, put our interests above his own and laid down his life on our behalf. In order to reach the goal of everyone listens and everyone is listened to in our gatherings, we have to take time to listen. And because of natural time constraints, we need to keep the group small enough to listen to everyone. This applies to any group, anywhere. If it is too large and there is not enough time, we miss our goal of intentionally loving everyone. You can talk about making tiny groups this way. We make micro connections in micro groups. Micro is short in time and very small in size. A group size of 2 or 3 people is what we're after. And we keep it simple. We share one thing, a high, a low, a challenge, a celebration. Trust that God can use the smallest insignificant things for His work. Micro connections are like mustard seeds, ready to grow over time into big trees. It's no accident that the first part of the action plan for loving one another is listen. Listen, pray, care groups create space for something special. These micro groups create space for you to get to hear what's on someone's heart. You get to respect them and hear what they have to say. It could be anything. It could be good or bad, troubling or freeing, simple or complex, deep or shallow. When you listen, God has a chance to work through you as you set yourself aside and listen to one of His children speak their heart. Remember, the end game is to show love. In the moment of listening, it's not about you, it's about someone else who walks the same earth and breathes the same air as you do, yet experiences things differently. Let's talk for a moment about sharing something from your heart. Young or old, we all have something to share. We all have something in front of us, something on our hearts. We all have something important enough to put into words at any given moment in time. That means we all have something to share in our Listen, Pray, Care microgroups. And we all get the privilege of listening to understand. Try to understand what is being said. Consider the importance of what they're telling you. Put yourself in their shoes. Seek to understand their struggle or celebration or desire. This will set the stage for your response, which first is confirming that you've listened. What they've said has reached your ears, your mind, and your heart. Then you will respond by praying for each other. You can pour out what you've learned about your brother or sister to God and praise Him and lean on Him for anything and everything. God may then move you to care for them in words or actions of loving response of what you've learned is on their heart. Let's wrap this up. In our last session, we will be taking a closer look at pray and care. We will also give you another chance to practice with each other so you can prepare for a lifetime of effectively loving others. At home, at work, at school, on the sports field, in the classroom, even at church. Thank you for joining me in our third session as we learn how to listen, pray, and care. May God bless you as you share God's love in Christ with your loved ones and with the world. Once again, for the purpose of practicing listen, pray, care in your gatherings, we break into groups that are very small. Microgroups, groups of 2 or 3. The time is limited and the connections are small, not extensive. Trust that God can use the seeds planted from our conversations for amazing things down the road. Try keeping your time to about 10 minutes. We want you to get a feel for groups this small and how to transition from your larger group to a microgroup and back again. Remember, we are trying to provide an opportunity for every person to participate. We want each of you to share something that is on your heart. We call this sharing ups and downs going on in your life. In other words, a celebration or a challenge, a joy or sorrow. Make sure that everyone gets a turn. Watch the time so everyone can share. This time we are going to add something. Each time a person shares, we would like the person to the left to offer a prayer for the person that just shared with you. You can keep it brief and simple. After all, we are children of God and God already knows everything we need. Keep to the time you agree upon. Then you can reassemble for the rest of your larger group time. God bless your time together.